The late August sun, a molten disk hanging low in the sky, cast long, weary shadows across the sleeping city. Streets lay hushed, a concrete expanse broken only by the occasional hum of a distant car or the furtive scuttle of a stray cat. Gray blocks of apartments loomed, mirroring the muted sky, a stark palette devoid of the vibrant hues one might imagine in paradise. Yet, against this monotonous backdrop, Arya moved, his backpack slung over one shoulder, a gym bag clutched in his hand. He looked like a character plucked from a dream, a whimsical elf preparing the Grim Reaper for a wedding. His blue jacket shimmered, a splash of unexpected brilliance, and his Turkish green pants rippled with each stride. But it was the pink military print gym bag that truly snagged my attention, a jarring counterpoint to his otherwise ethereal appearance. 3 paces away, he paused, a silhouette against the fading light, his gaze fixed on the heavens, his thumb scrolling rhythmically on his phone. I held my breath, a familiar dread coiling in my stomach. Was he another lost soul, bleary-eyed and stumbling towards the last train to the surrounding villages? But he wasn't drunk. Not in the slightest. As I pulled my own trolley, needing to pass him, a delicate scent wafted towards me, a floral perfume identical to the one I'd bought just last week. He moved with a quiet purpose, boarding the train without a single misstep. Yet, a disarming smile played on his lips, a stark contrast to the profound sadness in his eyes, which seemed to gaze beyond the confines of the train, lost in some distant, unseen landscape. Oh, his seat is next to mine. The thought, a silent exclamation, hung in the air. Arya, with surprising grace for a man so intent, arranged his bags on the nearby table, somehow creating ample space for mine. He slipped on his headphones, then, with a practiced ease, removed his shoes, tucking his legs beneath him in the cross-legged posture common among people resting on floor cushions. For the next 5 hours, as the train rattled through the changing scenery, he remained immersed in his music, his expressions shifting subtly with each new melody, but never, not once, did he truly smile. Hell of a day. Arya muttered to himself, his voice a low rumble. He'd meticulously sorted through his belongings, discarding anything deemed useless or extra. I'm going to die in several days, why would a dead man need his work laptop? He tossed the laptop into a donate pile with a dismissive flick of his wrist. Let's go. He walked towards the railway station, his eyes scanning the sparse crowd until they landed on a woman sitting on a bench. Extremely normal, he mused, a flicker of amusement in his sad eyes. Apparently, she bought a ticket that surprisingly was the seat next to mine. A strange calm settled over him, there was no tension, only a detached curiosity. The train journey would last 5 hours. He caught a whiff of her perfume. Haha, same as mine. Good taste. He wondered about her, an overworked researcher, perhaps, or a recent graduate, one of those who believed life was only for the smart ones, relegating the rest of humanity to insignificance. I hate them from the day I was born. His life, a relentless hell, was finally nearing its end, 3 days away. How convenient, he thought, a bitter smile playing on his lips. Been a good son, removed my prodigy brother from my life, and now I booked a hotel high enough to die. A fleeting desire surfaced, I only wished to see the sea for the last time. But then, a defiant spark ignited within him. Why give the world such satisfaction, to see me defeated after so long? The train hissed to a stop at my destination, the same station as his. I dashed for a taxi, my heart pounding with an urgency I couldn't quite explain. But as I reached for my purse, my hand met empty air. Panic flared. Here, lady. A voice, surprisingly gentle, spoke from behind me. A hand, long and slender, extended, my purse dangling from his fingertips. It fell when you rushed for the taxi. Have a nice day. It was Arya. He turned and walked away, disappearing into the bustling street before I could stammer a thank you. Why him, again? It was then, watching him vanish, that I truly noticed him, his awkward gestures, his bizarre clothing. It was as if, in his mind, others existed only in the far distance, too remote to be truly observed, too alien to be understood as different. He simply walked away, leaving me bewildered. I never liked the smart and egoistic people, Arya wrote in his mind, a silent, furious scrawl. I never liked abandoning relationships before, and yet I discovered that those were to be abandoned. A deep weariness settled over him. People are weird, pretending their love means something right before they took the road to another love. He wanted nothing more, only for his decisions and their consequences to be his and his alone. As you said, Andre, Arya, there will be a time when you won't be able to grow and get to a better place. That time was now. You will bury me. I will surrender and leave this nightmare that lasts for 36 years, your shadow upon my pain that suffocated every reason in my soul. He felt hollow, devoid of purpose. I will leave as I don't have any more reason. A strange, almost giddy anticipation bubbled within him for his extreme giddy exit into the August night air. He, again. I muttered, my patience wearing thin. The hotel receptionist, a young woman with nervous eyes, took Arya's booking ticket. Her face began to flush, a rising tide of crimson. I am so sorry, she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Apparently, we made a mistake and allocated you both the same room. What? Arya's voice, usually so calm, was sharp, impatient. He took a step forward, his eyes narrowing. I am so sorry, Arya Karam and Luka Simori. Same number. I am so sorry. She wrung her hands. I cannot rebook or find another hotel sooner, Arya said, his hand moving to his chin, a gesture of genuine disturbance. What can be done? Does the room have 2 beds? I interjected, trying to inject some calm into the escalating tension. Yes, the receptionist almost shrieked in relief. If you will stay together, I will make a 50% discount on each. I agree. Arya replied, his voice laced with an undeniable sadness. The receptionist didn't hesitate. Here's the key. Have a nice day. Arc 2, I accidentally bump on you. I didn't expect that to happen. Arya thought, a grimace twisting his features. He'd envisioned a smooth, almost clinical departure. But now, sharing a room, it felt weird already. To book the same room like in cheap soap on a lavender field, he mused, the absurdity of the situation not lost on him. It does smell like always. Nothing really works from the first time. He felt a strange nudge, as if God had sent him an ultimate way to show me that I need to last a little longer. He realized, still undecided. Arya began to unpack, his movements surprisingly efficient despite the initial chaos. He created a small, contained area for his belongings, a neat island in the center of the room. As I headed for the shower, I caught a glimpse of his laptop screen. He navigated through a shop platform, fulfilling orders with a rapid, almost effortless grace. He used AI to edit and proofread his customer communications, but the core messages, the essence of his freelance work, were all his own. He worked in a comfortable silence until. Hey. I know the situation is a bit weird, he said, his eyes still fixed on the screen. But I won't bother you too long. I stay only 3 days. No problem. I replied, toweling off my hair. I'm on a business trip. Probably won't bother you as well. He then disappeared into the bathroom for a long shower. When he emerged, dressed in black short pants and a black t-shirt, I was struck by his physique, neither fat nor skinny, but well-proportioned. With his military haircut, strikingly similar to my father's, he was undeniably attractive. I left him to his work and joined my colleagues for our team-building event. Arc 3, when it's time to leave up and die, but you can get another try. Arya moved towards the open window, the city sprawling below like an intricate, lifeless circuit board. The heat of the August afternoon pressed against him, a tangible weight. His heart, surprisingly, didn't race, his pulse remained steady. Yet, a wave of nausea, acrid and metallic, rose in his throat as he placed one foot onto the narrow ledge. The wind, a gentle whisper against his face, tugged at his clothes. The vast expanse of sky, an endless blue, mocked his smallness. Is it time to live or let's die? The question echoed in the cavern of his mind. He envisioned his imaginary death, perhaps in front of a flickering TV screen, or later, swallowed by the soft darkness of the night. What a tragedy, he mumbled, the irony not lost on him. He felt an agonizing indecision. Then, a pair of hands, firm and warm, clamped around his arm. Don't. It was her. I had just returned to the room, the lingering scent of my colleague's cheap cologne still clinging to my clothes. My breath hitched. There he was, Arya, perched on the edge of the open window, his gaze distant, lost. My heart lurched, a sickening thump against my ribs. I lunged forward, grabbing his arm, dragging him back into the relative safety of the room. Sir, suicide is never an option. I blurted, my voice thick with unshed tears. The words, cliché and inadequate, tumbled out, echoing the hollow promises I'd made to Ian. What do you want to do to your loved ones? Suicide. What a funny thing you say. Arya's expression shifted, a flicker of something akin to genuine confusion replacing the distant melancholy. He looked at me as if I were the one exaggerating, the one who had misread the entire situation. No, I am not going to do that. I live because I don't want to die. So, suicide was never an option. You idiot. My own tears, hot and stinging, finally breached their dam, streaming down my cheeks. He pulled me into an unexpected embrace, his arms surprisingly gentle. What would you expect me to think when you literally stay on the edge of the window? Are you out of your minds? I sobbed into his shoulder. No, hush, hush, he murmured, patting my back awkwardly. I am an idiot, but not a suicidal. Did someone break your heart doing this? The question, so direct, so painfully accurate, struck a chord deep within me. Arc 4, Why Me Crazy Girl? I found myself strangely soothed by Arya's calm demeanor. He seemed to mimic empathy, his movements gentle as he prepared me a cup of tea. So, your brother suicided, he began, his voice low and thoughtful. Well, there are differences and lots of cases. He may have felt it was the time, and this way he would cause you less pain. He would think that pain will be smaller that way. Smaller? I gasped, pulling away from him. He sighed, then added, I feel like it is useless to explain. Pain is hurting not only you but those around you. Feel that, but you always have a choice. The best is different for everybody. Here, have some tea. We drank the tea in silence, the air thick with unspoken understanding. He was, I realized, surprisingly cute. I didn't expect to jump. Arya thought, watching the city lights begin to glitter outside the window. He had only been looking to the sky, contemplating the immensity of this strange world. How pathetic it sounded. He now earned enough to live, he had a house, everything. His brother was gone, I have nothing left to hurt me. Yet, he knew the type, those who mimicked care and love. People who spoke of unconditional love while every ounce of their affection was conditioned by circumstances. Not surprising that divorce rates increase with economic crisis. Love, he realized, meant what he felt for himself when he chose to live. But even his parents' love had been conditioned by the things he did, and by the things he never told them. Like I have always pretended I love my brother, in fact I hated him for all those years he made me useless. His life, a tapestry unfinished, would someday end. He would go back home, but first, after this trip I will enjoy. I returned to the room at 11 p.m. and found him asleep, curled on his side, clutching a worn bug toy. I left the light off, not wanting to disturb him. What a strangely endearing image he presented. Then, my eyes fell upon a letter lying on his bedside table. A chill snaked down my spine. It was a letter to himself. My heart froze as I read it. Dear Arya. If you're reading this, you've made it through another day. Congratulations, I know how hard that can be. I'm writing this because I need to remember something important, you are not your brother. You are not your parents' expectations. You are not the sum of your diagnoses or the weight of your medication side effects. You are the boy who once believed in magic, who painted watercolors of impossible sunsets, who learned to code because you wanted to build bridges between worlds. You are the man who chose kindness over bitterness, who helped a stranger find her lost purse, who makes tea like it's a prayer. The voice in your head that says you're worthless? That's not your voice. That's the echo of everyone who was too small to see your light. The medications that make you shake, that poison your liver, that steal your energy, they're not stealing your soul. That's still yours. I know you're tired. I know the weight of living feels impossible some days. But look around you. Really look. The jasmine perfume you choose, the careful way you arrange your things, the gentle way you speak to strangers. These are not the actions of a man who's given up. These are the actions of someone who's still fighting. You have 3 days left in this hotel. Not 3 days to die, but 3 days to remember who you are. 3 days to see the sea, to feel the sun, to taste the salt air. 3 days to decide if you want to keep fighting. Because that's what this is, a fight. Not against life, but for it. Not against your illness, but for your right to exist as you are. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be cured. You just have to be. The woman in the next bed, Luka, she's fighting too. Maybe you can fight together for a while. Maybe you can remind each other that surviving is a form of victory. I love you, Arya. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Not because you're healed, but because you're trying. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're still asking the questions. What are we doing? We're trying to find a way to make ourselves whole. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.